villages, thriving towns. In the previous chapters, we've been learning about the kingdoms and the kings and the cities in which they live. The rise of new kingdoms and towns led to an increase in agriculture and trade. It resulted in the growth of new towns. Therefore, we'll be focusing on the vital villages and the thriving towns in this chapter. The two major changes that occur in the towns and villages were the increasing use of iron, and the development in farming was mainly around irrigation. Iron. The use of iron can be traced back 3,000 years, with the growing use reflecting some 2,500 years ago. These iron tools included axes for clearing forests and the iron plowshares, which were mostly used for increasing agricultural production. Some of the largest collection of iron tools and weapons have been found in the megalithic burials.
What is a megalith?
A megalith is a large stone that has been used to construct a structure or a monument. It is either used alone or together with other stones. And these stones are huge. Megalith means big stones. Megaliths in India are dated before 3000 BC, with recent findings dating back to 5000 BC in southern India. Megaliths are found in almost all parts of southern India. There is also a broad time evolution with these megaliths in central India and the upper Indus Valley, where the oldest megaliths are found, while those in the east are much of a later date. A larger fraction of these is assumed to be associated with burials or post-burial rituals, including memorials of those whose remains may or may not be available. Therefore, the megaliths in India are prevalent throughout the Deccan, South India, in the northeast, and in Kashmir. Other steps to increase production. Well, the kings and kingdoms needed the support of the flourishing villages to exist. Without them, they would not have existed. And what made a village flourish? The increase in production or the good quality grains that were grown in the villages made a village flourishing. What helped in increasing the production? The new tools of iron plowshares were used to increase the production, along with the system of transplantation and irrigation. The increase in production happened because of the changes in the agriculture practices. The two major changes in these agriculture practices were the growing use of iron plowshares, which were better than a wooden plowshare to turn over heavy and clayey soil. Therefore, more grain could be produced using an iron plowshare. The other change that took place in agriculture in this era was that the people began transplanting paddy or rice. Instead of scattering seeds on the ground from which the plants would sprout, the people started growing saplings somewhere else, and then when they were grown, they were planted in the field. This led to the increase in production of the rice, as many more plants survived. Along with the use of iron plowshares and transplanting paddy, irrigation was also one of these methods that helped in increasing the production. To facilitate the practice of irrigation, many works were built during this period of time. The canals, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes were some of these methods through which irrigation was promoted, and which helped in increasing the production of the grains in the village areas. We talked about the major changes that took place in the villages, the practices that changed, the agricultural practices that changed. But who did these changes? Who followed these changes? Who lived in these villages? Well, there were at least three different types of people who lived in most villages in the southern and northern part of the subcontinent. Let us first look at the southern region, which is also known as the Tamil region. In the Tamil region, the large landowners were known as vellalars. The ordinary plowmen who worked on the fields were known as uzavar. And the third category were known as kadaisiyar and adimai. This category included the landless laborers and the slaves as well.
So basically, the three people that lived in the villages, or the three types of people that existed in the southern part of the villages in India, were that of the villalars, large landowners, the uzavars, who were the ordinary plowmen, and those who were not as big as the villalars. Then the third category was of the kadaisiars and adimai, who served these people, who were the landless laborers and the slaves.
All of these words are Tamil words which are found in the Sangam literature. The Sangam literature. The Sangam literature was composed around 2300 years ago. They are considered to be one of the earliest works in the Tamil language. But why did the name Sangam? Sangam was chosen as its name because it is assumed that they were probably composed and compiled in assemblies, hence the name Sangam. The assemblies were of the poets, and it was held in the city of Madurai. With this, we move on to the northern part, or the northern region. We learned about the three stages or three categories in the southern subcontinent. Now, in the northern subcontinent, the village composed of the Gram Bhojak. The Gram Bhojak was supposed to be the village headman. This post was hereditary, which meant that the men from the same family held the position for generations, and generally the Gram Bhojak was often the largest landowner. It is the similar case that was followed in the southern portion. The largest landowner was like a village headman in the southern portion as well. Generally, the Gram Bhojak had slaves and hired workers to cultivate the land, just as the Velalars in the southern part. A Gram Bhojak was considered to be very powerful. So, seeing the power of the Gram Bhojak, the king used to make him the collector of taxes from the villagers. As the Gram Bhojak was so powerful, he sometimes also functioned as the judge and sometimes as the policeman for the village as well. Other than the Gram Bhojak, there existed Grahapatis. The Grahapatis were the independent farmers or the smaller landowners. The Grahapatis didn't have as much big of a land as the Gram Bhojaks. And naturally, they were not as rich as the Gram Bhojaks. They worked or cultivated on their own land. The third category in this region were that of the Das Karmakaras. In this category, the men and women who did not own their own land and had to earn a living by working on the fields owned by others came in this category.
Other than these three types of people that existed in the northern part of the villages, there existed the people who were the craft persons. These craft persons were the blacksmiths, the weavers, potters, and the carpenters.
Mathura was an important settlement because it was located at the crossroads of two major routes of travel and trade, from the northwest to the east and from north to south. There were fortifications around the city and several shrines. Mathura became the second capital of the Kushanas. It was also a religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, Jain shrines, and it was an important center for the worship of Krishna. Mathura is such an ancient city that it finds mention in the Hindu epic Ramayana and also in the writings of Alexandrian astronomer. Mathura is also very famous for its beautiful temples, generally rectangular or sometimes square or round in shape, either cut out of metal sheets or made out of flattened metal globules. The coins were not inscribed but were stamped with symbols using dies or punches, hence, they were called punch marked coins. These coins are found over most parts of the subcontinent and remained in the circulation till the early centuries. Crafts and craft persons. Extremely fine pottery, known as the northern black polished ware, was found in the northern part of the subcontinent. This is thought to have developed from high firing techniques used to make this pottery. It was usually black in color and has a fine sheen. Association of craft persons and merchants known as shrenis were formed, and these shrenis also served as bank where rich men and women deposited money. A very famous site called Arikamedu was found in Puducherry. It was a coastal settlement found from thousands and thousands of years back. It is the only city with an archaeological record of Roman presence in India. It is famous for manufacturing amazing bead jewelry. The glass bead site here was considered as the mother of all bead centers in the world. Arikamedu soon became a unique bead center as it manufactured beads made of both stone and glass. Various textiles, beads, terracotta, artifacts, and gold and semi-precious jewelry were exported to Greco-Roman ports and other countries in the east from Arikamedu. Stones of different colors were excavated at Arikamedu at Puducherry. Other finds include pottery made from the Mediterranean region such as amphorae, tall double-handled jars that contain liquids, and stamped red glazed pottery was also found. Different types of pottery which was made in ancient Rome were found at this site. And one such was Ware, which was named after a city in Italy. Small tanks used as dyeing beds used to dye clothes were found. Various manufacturing units where cloths was made at different parts of the country like Varanasi and Madurai was also found. Pottery of which was found at these places has come from Rome. This shows that the place has a deep connection with the city. Now, what is Rome known for? It is known for its stunning architecture with the Colosseum Pantheon, and it was the center of the Roman Empire that ruled the European continent for several ages. Roman amphitheaters, large circular or oval open air avenues with raised seating built by the ancient Romans were found. They were used for events such as gladiator combats, Venetians, and executions. Aqueduct, ancient Rome. The Roman aqueduct was a channel used to transport fresh water to highly populated areas. Aqueducts were amazing feats of engineering given the time period. Gravity and the natural slope of the land allowed aqueducts to channel water from a freshwater source such as a lake or a spring to the city.